This video that I'm making is a presentation, if you will, of where a place is in the United States where people can go during the time of tribulation. And I'm going to show you how I got this information, but first I'm going to tell you about the area. The area lies in the center of the United States of America, which is a convenient place if you live in the United States. Why would you want to go overseas? And I don't know to what place you would go that would be safe. So it's in the center of the United States. Here is a marker that designates where a marker is west of the city or town of Lebanon, Kansas, and a line that I put in that comes down to this area, which is found in central Texas, the middle of Texas pretty much. And Lebanon, Kansas was designated as the center of the continental United States years ago by balancing a map on something and then figuring east to west, north to south. So we're in the southern portion of the United States, so it only holds true that from east to west, we're in the center of the United States. This refuge area, or I'm also going to call it Zion in America, is mostly to the east. It's not science, they said. It, can be 20 or 40 miles off from the true center of the United States. Something like that. And I've heard of another designation in Osborne, Kansas, that had to do with figuring out the curvature of the earth or something like that. So, but for all intents and for all the purpose of this video and for everything else, we're in the center of the United States. Okay, so this area, there's Dallas, Texas, and down here is Austin, Texas. And I have to go a little bit larger for you to see other areas. Dallas, Fort Worth, that is, up there. Okay, here's Killeen, Texas. Here's Temple, Texas. If you're familiar with Texas, you can see where everything is. Smaller areas, here's Brownwood, Texas, which is about 20 miles to the edge of this area. And here's Stephenville, which is again 20 or less to that area. Those are the closest places. Over here is Abilene, Texas. Okay, so let me back off a little bit. Now this area, also an unusual feature about this area is that it's in the same latitude line as the temple site is in Israel, the Temple Mount, and Jerusalem, Israel. So I'm going to superimpose a map of Israel, and you can see this is where Israel would come in Texas. See Houston here. Get it up a little bit more. Alright. The bottom of Israel comes to San Antonio. The top, I'll guess 40 miles above Fort Worth area. But the area around Jerusalem there's Jerusalem, and the temple site come right through this area that we're calling Zion in America. That's why. This is Comanche County right here, Hamilton County right here, Mills County right here. And I'll take the map from Israel away like that, and we'll put up a little tack. It's not quite in the center. You can see it flashing. It says temple site on it right there. So that's where it would come within this refuge area, or Zion in America. Again, here's the Jerusalem map. So these are some interesting features about this area. How did I come by this idea that this was Refuge or Zion in America? Did I just figure all this out? No, I didn't figure any of it out. It all came to me through dreams. I'll give you some more information about this square area here. It's a little over 40 miles this way. Can't remember, 40 point something, and this way here it's 41 point something, but it's less than a mile difference from the length this way as opposed to the other way. The diagonal measurement on this square is 57.69 miles. The diagonal measurement this way is 57.69 miles. And I've looked into the math behind it, and that says that this should be 40.92 miles, and this side should be 40.92 miles. But with the diagonal being the same, I'm satisfied that we can call that a perfect square. Let me show you more detail about this area. I'm going to get all the communities in this area, so I've got to make it a little smaller. You can't quite see it. Okay. The towns found in this area are Goldswaith. I'll blink that off and on for you right there. On. Hamilton. Hyco. Up in the corner. Leave it on. Comanche. Gustine. And I live in Gustine. I moved here in response to the dreams. Pottsville. It's almost in the middle. Evan. Southern section. Bee House, an important little town in the dream, and Star. One more town here is Pretty, Hassie, up on top in the northwest corner, Proctor, almost to the north boundary, and Energy, very close to the temple site. Okay, these are major areas here. They're not very big. Nothing is very big. I can't tell you the population. Comanche may be the most populated area. I can't, let's just say 3,500, 4,000 maybe. And then the rest of these places, Hamilton would maybe be the next biggest, and then Goldswaith. Very small area, communities in this area. So this I'm calling the place of refuge, where Christians can go during the tribulation period. Now that may seem ridiculous to you because you believe in a rapture. I don't personally believe that we're going to be raptured out of here. We're going to actually go through a tribulation period. And I think that Christians need to find or have a place to go. But I didn't make this up. None of this came out of my own reasoning. There was a map that somebody put up, a young person who blotted out areas of the United States. I found it on YouTube once, but I can't find it now. And they kept reasoning where would be a good place to go, and they ended up in Texas. Everything else was blotted out, and as I recall, it had not near the coast of Texas, but somewhere inland in Texas, and he had his reasoning behind it. Well, I found out this information a long time ago, the majority of it, and lately I found out some more, so I'm trying to get it all up here for you to see. So the important thing is that you can see this area is greater than 1,600 square miles. It may have bordered on 1,674 square miles. Fairly large area, and these are the towns within that area. The roads within that area, well, if I take this out, take out this markings that I have put up, maybe we can see the roads. West Polygon. Okay, now funny they're not showing up too good. Okay, here's Highway 36. Hamilton to Gustine is Highway 36. Then Gustine to Comanche is Highway 36. Are we going to get some more so we can see her, and do I have to blow it up more? No, it's not really showing me. .281. Okay, now we've got where we were before. Okay, here's 281, which goes from Hyco .281 right there. Hyco goes down through Hamilton and down through Evant. And then 281 goes out of the refuge area. 84, we pick that up at the edge, and we go from Evant on 84 through Star, and from there we go to Goldswaith on 84. Now from Goldswaith, there's Highway 16 that goes up to Pretty and on to Comanche. And then we have Highway 67 that goes to Hassey and Proctor. And that's about it. We covered Highway 36 from Comanche to Gustine to Hamilton. So those are the main thoroughfares here, the highways in this area. This is Comanche County, Hamilton County, Mills County, Coryell County. This is probably a little bit of Lampasas County. Maybe that's it. No, this would have to be portion of Erith County. And I forgot, did I say, Brownwood, Texas is about 20 miles again from the very border of the Refuge or Zion in America. Stephenville is again close to 20 miles. And remember why I'm calling it Zion in America, because of the fact that there's we're right on the latitude line of Jerusalem, Israel. So that's where the temple site is. Again, I'll put that up for you. There you can see it. Temple site is right there. Okay, Jerusalem would be right here. Be really close to Energy. Probably Energy, Texas would have the same latitude. Not longitude, but latitude. Okay, we're going to take that thing down, and I'm going to unclick all these areas, all these little towns that I put up, and at the same time I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take the center path from the United States off. Okay, and the center of the United States marker, I'll take that out. Okay, so I'm going to completely take everything off. Hope you can remember all this information I'm trying to convey to you. Get rid of all these little places. There's the temple site. Take that off. Got to find everything here where I have it marked. Temple site. Take that off. So we should have a clean map of the United States with nothing on it whatsoever. Now I'll start in with this tale. I'm going to tell you how this all started, how I found this area. On November the 1st, 1998, I was staying in the home of some friends in Bethel Springs, Tennessee. I went to sleep, went to bed with my wife. I woke in the night, and for some reason I prayed that God would show me a place to go, a refuge for Christians. And of course, I believe in the Great Tribulation coming, and I thought Christians are going to get under such a, such an event would take place, so we needed to find a place to hide out. Well, I'm not saying that I was thinking specifically of the United States. I wasn't thinking of anywhere. Okay, as I went to sleep, I had a dream where I saw two doorways out in a field, and there was a small sign to the right, and it said nursery. So I woke from my sleep, and I went to sleep again, and I dreamed the word Wellington, and as I recall, it was just in bright lights, Wellington. I woke from my sleep again, I went to sleep for the third time, and I saw a person I remember as a cowboy, either sitting next to some kind of a creek or stream or something, and he said, I worked in Bottle Creek. I woke from my dream again, from my sleep, and I thought, well, where are these places? And I went to sleep for the fourth time, and I dreamed the word Texas. I woke from that, from my sleep, and I never went back to sleep again. And I relayed this information to my wife, and then we got up in the morning, and I told my friends where we were staying, and we first got a road atlas, and we looked up Wellington, Texas. And there it was. Well, this person said, maybe you should have a nursery in Wellington, Texas. Well, at that point, I didn't think a lot of it, but as time went on and we went back home to Globe, Arizona, where I was living at the time, I thought, and on the way back, we went to Wellington, Texas, and we looked at the land. There was a lot of land there, cheap land. So back in Arizona, and I think it was about 2 weeks later, and I think that we were looking in my wife's diary, and it was maybe the 17th of November, from the 1st of November to the 17th of November, let's say, on 1998. I looked up Nursery, Texas. Well, yes, and there it was. So I was really amazed. So here's 2 locations given to me in one, in this dream session on November the 1st, 1998. I then decided to go to the library and find out if there were a body of water, a creek, named Bottle Creek in the United States. And I found quite a few. I believe it was 8. And I couldn't find any in Texas. But I saw in Tillman County, Oklahoma, which is right near Wellington, that there was such a place as Bottle Creek. So that shocked me. So before I go on, let me say, let me put in here Nursery, Texas. So you see that flashing way down southern part of Texas. And the next is Wellington, Texas, way up here. Okay, then I found Bottle Creek right there. That's the end of Bottle Creek. It's about 7 miles long, and this is close to Davidson, between Davidson and Frederick, Oklahoma, Tillman County. Okay, this Bottle Creek ends in the Red River. So at that point, we call that Texas. So that's the boundary. So we have established 3 places in Texas. So the dreams held out. Okay, for somebody that really, wasn't used to having so much detail given to them in dreams, that we could trace this whole thing out, is quite startling. What it all means? Well, it was a large, I can say a great distance from these areas. And this Bottle Creek end to Wellington, Texas, is 81 miles. So because it followed the river like that, I thought about putting a line across there. As you can see, I put a line across there. Let me make this closer for you so you can see what I'm doing. So I drew a line across there. Okay, then I put lines from Nursery to Wellington like that, and from Bottle Creek to Nursery like that. Okay, so the distance from Bottle Creek to Wellington is 81 miles. The distance from Bottle Creek across this triangular area is only 43 miles. And these are great distances. I'm just going to say 450 miles, whether I'm exactly right. I can't recall. I have it written down, but okay, and I'm going to say it's 380 miles from this side, Nursery to Bottle Creek. So when I did this, I thought, well, okay, this is the area that's supposed to be the refuge, or I had no knowledge of Israel coming through there like that, you know, in Jerusalem. I didn't know anything about it. So this is where I was at a point in November of 1998. This is the information that I had. I remember showing this to some people in a restaurant in Globe, Arizona, that this is what I had figured out. So as this went on, I wrote all this information out to keep track of it. And, well, I was showing it to people. So I again prayed about this in December. It was December the 20th. So, you know, you could say if I had the dream on December the 21st in the night. And there I dreamed about a large, well, a landscape stretching out before me, and in the dream I remember large trees and other details. But the important thing was I wanted the land, but nobody would tell me where it was, and I got the number. As I recall in the dream, it was I either heard it or saw it, but to me it seems as though I saw 3200 in the left corner. And at the time I thought it was like the acreage. Then I had another dream at the same time. I mean, it was a dream with 3 parts. And in the next part of the dream, I dreamed about some people in a building, and a woman gave a saying about somebody getting stung by bees. And so I then had another part of the dream that had to do with a corral. And there were angular things there, you know, like a wagon and, you know, like a bed. I was looking down on it, and I could never understand that part of the dream. So anyway, the preceding day after I had these dreams, like say it was on December 21st, I discovered a place called Bee House within this triangular area. So I put a line there. You can see it going off and on. And then the next day or so, I thought about the latitude line coming across Texas. It was 3200. So I figured that's what it is. So again, we go like that. So now we have this area. It has 4 corners, okay? And the triangle that the original triangle, the 3-sided triangle, was that I have here. It comes right through Austin, by the way. Okay, Austin is within this area. There's Austin, Texas, the capital, you know, of Texas. And right across this area is only 12 miles. So when I saw that after drawing this out on a road map, that surprised me. But just like it surprised me that the 3 areas, Nursery, Texas, Wellington, Texas, and Bottle Creek, existed, and they were in proper association, we'll say, with the state of Texas, so that I could get 3 points to work from. And then shortly after praying in December 21st, to get these other 2 points, which defines this area we'll call the Refuge. At the time, it was just merely the Refuge. It wasn't Zion in America. and then finding out that Austin came down here. All right, now I moved here. I went on to have other dreams which defined the very road that I live on, the 360, and then coming here and looking for property and not finding it. Later I prayed about it again, and these were all, every time I prayed I had a dream. I thought it was 6, but I think it could be just five dream sessions. So, well, the last one, after not finding anything and going back to Arizona and praying again about it, and that, according to the account that I have written out, was on May the 6th. And at that time, I was told to come back to this area. Plainly told to come back here, and that something was there in this area. I could read that to you because I find that very impressive. I mean, not only, you know, did we establish all these points, but you could say, okay, well, maybe you just made it up. Maybe you just imagined it. Is that possible? Like hitting the lottery, you know? Maybe 1,000,000 to 1, 10, 100 million to 1, but it's still possible. You prayed, you got these places, but you could have made these place names up and correctly put them in Texas. Even though there's only one nursery that I can understand as a town in the whole world. Many Wellingtons, I think, in the United States, and Bottle Creeks, there might have been about 8. Okay, but I correctly placed them in Texas, even nursery. Well, maybe you just made it up. And somehow Austin, Texas was in it, and somehow you put it in the middle of the United States, and somehow Jerusalem, Israel, the temple site just came right through there. Somehow. Well, okay, happenstance. Is it possible? Oh, it doesn't seem so, but on the 6th of May, I prayed again, but this time I was very negative toward God and said that this was it for dreams, and that if anything was going to happen, it had to happen now. That night or close to morning, I dreamed of a pile of large rocks that were on the left and a huge, perfectly round boulder bigger than a person to the right. It was cut in half, but the other half was not there. There was a person between them that would go on the pile of rocks and then toward the boulder. They didn't know what to do, as they were totally confused. Then another person that I could only see from the back of their head said, "No, it's not there," meaning the pile of rocks. "And it's not there either," meaning the boulder. "There is a table carved out of the rock," meaning the other half of the boulder. "It's back there on your land. Go and see. It's back there. You'll see." The person between the pile of rocks and the boulder finally understood what was said. When I woke in the morning, I told my wife that my mind was playing tricks on me, and then I told her the dream. I thought, I will go back for the last time. If nothing is there, I will go to Tennessee and on to Missouri to look for land, as my friend was buying a place there. I left for Texas 2 days later on May 9th. As I turned on to County Road 360 from Route 36 in the morning of the 10th, I thought there probably wouldn't be anything different, but I still hoped. I drove to the first corner where I expected to find something, that is, if anything was there, but nothing was there. I turned right. Then at the next corner I turned left. By that time I was getting upset, but thought, since I am going on to Missouri, it wasn't a wasted trip. As I drove a little way ahead, I saw a new sign on the bank to my left, "First Call Realty." I was so surprised and said, this must be it. I drove to the end of the 360 to see if anything else was for sale, but there wasn't. All right, I'll just stop at that point. This 360, where I live, County Road 360, is 5 miles long. So I was shown through dreams that it would be on County Road 360. That's why I expected something to be there. And there never was the other time. Nothing materialized. But I go back to Arizona and I pray, and I'm told to go back that it would be there on my land. And well, I had no land, so I go back and here's a for sale sign. So now this is prophetic. Nobody can say it isn't. It's predicting the future. So if that's not the proof of this whole thing, or at least one. So I go back and I see that it's for sale, and I get the details from the real estate person, and I talk to the owner and I make an offer, and then that's how I purchased the land and we moved here. June 10th, I believe it was, that we moved on this property in 1999. So there we have it. That's how we got here. I'm just trying to find this date. The property is 37.849 acres. There's an irrigation well on it, somewhat over 100 feet, could be about 110 feet. Has a 5 horsepower pump, and it produces 82 gallons a minute. I measured it non-stop. You can let it run for weeks, and it'll cut back to 70 something, but it's all that water's there, and it just keeps coming out 24 hours a day. About 30 acres is flat, and there's some that's kind of like going down the hill. Okay, we moved here on June 10th, 1999. Very good soil. We raised produce here. Have supported ourselves doing that until we retired. There was a fence around it, 6 wires, barbed wire fence around, well, it was 3 sides at the time. Then we had to, because the neighbor was dividing the property and only kept 4 acres for himself, we had to pay half of the 4th side. So that's how I got here, and I've been here over 13 years. So we've covered that. There's Nursery, there's Austin, there's the Refuge, there's Bottle Creek Inn, there's Wellington. We've covered all that information for you, and here's... Now, on May the 5th of this year, 2012, I was looking at this area and wondering something about it. If I would draw a line straight down from the northwest corner and connect it with another line coming across from the southwest corner, what would happen? I don't know. I just looked at a map. I have a map of Texas up on my wall, and that just occurred to me. So I did it. I drew these lines. See if I can find the right line. Okay, there's the one I'm telling you about. Going down, and then I connected it with a south line like that. And then I thought, well, okay, I'll do the same thing on the east side, go up, okay, and you can see that. And then I'll connect it to the north side like that. It's kind of a little jaggy looking here, but it's actually, I found out after doing that and looking at it that it's a square. Like I said, a little over 40 miles, both sides. So, let me see if I can now find the part that I used to fill in the square. Okay, so there, this is the portion that I added, and this is the other portion on the other side. So we went from an area here that was like 27 miles across the top to a little over 40 miles this way. And the bottom area was 22 miles something. So we then extended it to 40 miles. These sides were, because of the angle like this, they're over 40 miles. I can't remember. It was like 46 and 44, I believe. Okay, so that's the diagonal. So now we've added this, and we've come up with a square that's a little over 40 miles. And on the diagonal from here to here, it's 57.69 and 57.69. So we've come out with a square. Let me see here if I can. Can't remember where everything is. I see some things up here. I'd like to fill it all in for you again. Must be above. It says half square. Okay, like that. So we're going to fill it all in. Okay, which you've seen all this. So now this is, as I believe, I mean, can I be wrong? This was the product of my dreams. It took me 13 years to figure out that it's really a square. And when I first had the dreams, you know, nursery, Wellington, Bottle Creek in Texas, okay, that's perfect. You know, how can you mess up on that? And then when I had the next part of the dream, the 3200 and B House, Texas, which gave me the bottom southern portion of this refuge. I drew a line to get that. And so how can I know that I was right? Maybe I was wrong because, you know, it wasn't perfectly understood, maybe. And so, so when I found this out, that it's created a perfect square, or a square of 57.69 and 57.69 this way, well, doesn't that suggest to you that my next dreams that I had in December, around December the 20th, 21st, were correct? Just as the dreams that I had previously. So each dream sequence complemented the next dream sequence and began to close in this area, and then got in more detailed until it showed me what road to go on, and until it told me to go back, you know, and that I would have property there. The part about the table cut out of the rock, what does that mean? Well, I can say that the third part of the dream that took place in a corral, you know, I saw things like this. I mean, four-cornered things, you know, squares or rectangles. But I didn't really pay attention to it because there was other details there. But now I also go to that portion of the dream that says there is a table cut out of the rock. You know, so here's a table. And it's in the earth. It's cut out of the rock, if you will. It's designated. And the boulder that was bigger than a person, the completely round, perfectly round circle that was in my dream, it said the other half wasn't there. You know, and it gave me the idea that it was back on my land. So it said first a table cut out of the rock. Now it would be a round table. Well, this is square table, and you can put a compass in here and draw a circle. A perfect circle will go into a square. This is a perfect square, so a perfect circle goes in, or a circle. I mean, how can a circle be imperfect? But a circle will go into a square. It will not go into anything else. So to me, that's sufficient. I found out what the dreams are trying to tell me. And so I moved here, and here I live, and I'm suggesting that this is the Refuge or Zion in America. And I'm telling people about it because I think that it's my duty to do so. These dreams happen to me. I have witnesses. My wife is a witness. She's been living with me for 43 years, and she has different some of these accounts written in her diary that we're going through. So what can I say? I guess at this point, you can come here. Anybody can come here, and I would like to see you buy your own place and establish your own farm, ranch for yourself, not to be a burden on me or anyone else. And I don't care what faith you are, if you believe there's a tribulation coming, you know, whatever faith you are, Baptists, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Mennonite, Amish, anybody, Mormons, I think they would love this stuff. The reason is because we have established that this is Zion in America. It's not where anyone else would think, but I mean, this is we've established that this is Zion in America. God has shown it to me. This is where, again, Jerusalem comes. Jerusalem, Israel comes right through here. Wouldn't that suggest to you that this is where God wants you to go? Zion in America, right? And there's a temple site right there. I'll take that off. That's okay. Here's a map. There's the Israel map right there. Jerusalem, Israel. I'll get that right up for you so you can see it again. I've shown it several times. To me, it proves everything about this. So what more could you want to know about it? It's Zion in America. And this is the Refuge site. I'm saying you can come here and that we have God's protection in this area. And I've seen also God has done some other things that were miraculous for us. So I'm asking you, or I'm inviting you to come to this place. Hey, Rachel. Rachel, come here. I'm going to call my wife in here so we can get a testimony from somebody who knows, you know, the beginning and the end of this thing. Okay, now, and she can say that what she thinks. Sit on that chair right there. What she thinks, or whatever, or whether she believes this. What I'm telling you is absolutely the truth. This is no joke, spoof, whatever. I'm telling you the absolute truth. All these things happened to me, and what else can we conclude from it? But it's true. It's huge. It's big. This is the last time. A lot of people think it's the last time, but you know, what evidence do we have of it? Well, surely the events happening in the world today, happening in the Middle East, happening in Israel, biblical prophecy. But you know, do we know for sure? Well, here, God has shown us a place that we can go. In other words, in the tribulation, where are we going to go? God hasn't left us without a witness. It's like Noah was told to build an ark, and he built the ark, and only 8 souls were saved. Well, this is the same place. This is an ark in central Texas, and I must conclude that here we're going to be kept safe. That's all I can get out of it. So, you know, the things that happened proved to me. Now, are they going to be proof to you? Do you know? Are you going to believe this? I mean, it all has to do with our credibility. That's it. I maintain that we're credible and honest, and nobody can find any fault with us. Okay, we may not agree doctrinally on some things, but other than that, we are honest people. So I'm going to switch this around, and you can see my wife. She's in some of the videos, of course, on the Refuge, and she has her own channel called God's True Witness. so you can see her and she can say what she thinks, okay? About me, about all this, whatever. Okay, here she is now. I'm going to turn the camera around. Okay, now, I'm going to ask you, is everything on this video correct and true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and you were sleeping with me when I had these dreams, and I got up and I told you, and in some occasion you don't remember exactly, but others that you wrote in your diary. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
So in other words, is there any doubt in your mind that that this is not the truth?
No, there's no doubt in my mind.
Okay, so now we have a witness, okay? And there are other people around here that I have told this information to, and people previously in our past who paid no attention to it. And it seems as though people who live in this area like the idea that they're in the refuge. People in other areas outside of the refuge don't like the idea because they believe that Jesus is going to either rapture them out and they're not going to go through any great tribulation, or Jesus is going to protect them where they are. Why get out of their comfort zone and come to a place like this? Although we find it nice here. I can say the weather is pretty nice through the winters, very nice. Through the summers we have some pretty hot weather, of course, being in the south like this, but it's not as bad as people would have you think. Also, storm-wise, tornado-wise, we have never, to my knowledge, in these 13 years, experienced any tornadoes in this area. Dallas had some bad tornadoes in the spring, and Fort Worth, I remember a couple years ago, maybe had some tornadoes. And tornadoes have hit here, one in the Star area maybe back in 1904. Ziffer was hit maybe in the 20s. Pottsville had a small tornado. 2 people were killed. I think it hit the school, as I recall, in 1940s. And there's some record of Downey, which is above Comanche, getting hit. 80s maybe. Okay, aside from that, I am not conscious of any tornadoes, and they're just very small. So it's not like being in the southern part of the United States. Tennessee, Missouri. Let me get off my wife here. She's getting uncomfortable. Getting into, Missouri and Mississippi, Alabama, and all those areas. They have a lot of tornadoes. We used to live in Ohio. We had tornadoes in Ohio. So we have seen less bad weather, actually none, no destruction, heavy winds. I don't know, we saw a few trees blown down once. So aside from that, no. We find this area very safe in that regards, and also very low crime rate because of the fact that it's rural. The people are very polite. Texans are polite as a whole. Teenagers are very polite, and then they wave and they say, "Yes, sir," and "No, sir." And so we've enjoyed our stay here. This area, again, being in Central Texas and being at the same latitude line as Jerusalem, Israel, we grow figs here. Figs grow pretty well, and pomegranates. We planted some pomegranates a few years ago, and we've got some really nice pomegranates, as nice as you could buy in the store. Peaches do well. We've had big peach crops, although sometimes we get hit by frost. Apricots occasionally, but again, it's frost catches you. Plums, we've had apples here. Our trees have died now, or the trees that we had, but we do raise produce, and vegetables grow real well. We put up a large greenhouse, 30 feet by 96. This is the 4th year, which we raise tomatoes and other vegetables through the winter. And you can get on the Place of Refuge site and see all the things in the greenhouse. There's a video entitled a tour of the greenhouse. So and there's other videos on there. So this is, again, the area in central Texas, which I believe to be, by all evidences, the Refuge, or Zion in America. It's the perfect place because God has chosen it, not because I chose it. No way did I figure this out. I mean, yes, it appears that I had to understand it and figure it out to that point, but you can see why. I mean, I'm not fudging. I'm not being false about things. It's all quite plain. It was all, in a sense, plain to me, but it took, months, years to see all this. Previously, I didn't see that, that the Refuge was this large square area, which makes it very believable to me. We met some other people who moved here or bought a piece of property here in 1995, and I went to visit them because of a video that they had up, which is entitled The Refuge, and it's in Texas or Comanche County, and I went to visit them, and they were not in the Refuge, the first part of it that I thought was a refuge. They were about 6 miles from the border, a little less. So when I enlarged it and made it a square, the western side went through the middle of their greenhouse, which is on the west side of their property. So the majority, that was about 32 feet from the property line, going through the middle of their greenhouse. At that portion, a little bit more as you go to the back of the property, maybe 50-something, 57 feet. So they have 68 acres, the majority being in the Refuge area. And one of the people that I talked to has been here for like 14 years. He had to come in 1998. Others came previously and developed this area. So they said that they found this property. I talked to one of the men later by phone who was out of state, and he said that they found this property because somebody gave a prophecy that around Pretty, Texas was a safe place to be. So then they bought this property around Pretty, Texas. Well, Pretty, Texas is in the Refuge area, and also their property is in the Refuge area. So unusual circumstance, happenstance, what? Their prophecy must have been true. That's all I can say. I believe it. So they're here, and we're here, and another fella moved in that I know, about 4 miles down the road here, and he has a place. So there's plenty of land available. This used to be the peanut capital, I understand, of the world, Comanche County, because there's a lot of sandy land, and they quit raising all the peanuts that they used to. There's maybe some peanuts, but some of this land is being used to raise watermelon and cantaloupes, and so this is a big area for that, or it has been, and other produce is being raised here by just a few people. A lot of elderly in this area. I understand half of Comanche County is owned by people outside of the area. So, and then of course you have other counties here. There's like six portions of 6 counties. So, come on, before it hits. And let's work together, get to know one another, and see God do miraculous things, just like He has done here, to lead me to this area. I've been faithful. I've been faithful. This happened over 13 years ago. I've been faithful to come here, document this, and try to get the word out. Is that the reason God chose me for this assignment? Possibly, because I am really a detailed person. I'm project oriented. I have a purpose-driven life way before the guy wrote the book about the purpose-driven life. That's the way I am. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. This is a full hour long video. So Lord bless you.